Thank you all very much. All right, that is our two action items. We do have a briefing, 8:54, solid waste updates, and we got several members from the DOTI team. So whomever is going to present, come on up, introduce yourselves. And just a reminder as you're presenting, please make sure you get the mic close to your face so that the individuals watching via Zoom can hear you. Thank you very much. Take it away.
We get the tech going over here. Good morning, everyone. My name is Margaret Medellin. I'm a deputy manager with DOTI, and I oversee the Utilities Administration. So we're here today to provide you a briefing on our solid waste management operations. You know, as everyone knows, this has been a challenging year for all of us, but I just want to say we're so proud and so grateful for the hard work and dedication of our solid waste team. You know, during the entire pandemic, they didn't miss one day of collection, and they were called upon to do more than they'd ever been done before and to serve the community in ways that they hadn't been asked to before. So I just wanted to start off with a thank you to them. But today we're here to talk to you about some of the challenges we've had and also our plans to get back to not only pre-COVID operations, but we want to come back out of this time stronger and more efficient. So with that, I want to turn the presentation over to our Solid Waste Management Director, Art Mejia. And Art, I think you'll go ahead and introduce the rest of the team.
Good morning, and thank you, Margaret. With us, we have Ken Arguello. He's part of the operations in solid waste management, and we have Richard Villa. He's one of our field superintendents in operations. As I mentioned, my name is Art Mejia. I am the director of solid waste management. I've been with the city for about 9 months now. I started back in November in the middle of the pandemic. My experience, a little bit about myself, I'll talk about my experience in solid waste. I have over 18 years of solid waste management experience, mainly with the private industry and the private sector with Republic Services. My last 4 years, I was up in the Northern California area. I manage a business unit of 265 employees. We had all different kinds of lines of business in the solid waste business unit. We manage residential, commercial, roll-off, bin delivery, and we also had our own fleet, vehicle maintenance, fleet maintenance within our unit. We serviced about 584,000 customers in the Contra Costa County up in Northern California. And I'll start with the Solid Waste Management Department for Denver. By numbers, we service about 182,000 residents every week. In 2020, we manage over 120,000 tons of trash. The city has over 32,000 compost subscribers, and that number is growing. And the city also collected about 24,000 tons of recycling in 2020. Our department right now has a staffing of about 183 people. I want to talk about the state of the operation right now, some of the challenges that we have identified as part of our assessment within our department. We've noted that we have some outdated routing systems. We have ran these routing systems that we have for quite a while, and it was time to take a look at the operation on how we collect trash in the city of Denver. And we've realized that, and we're making some improvements in our systems. We have challenging routes. We service fully automated routes. We have semi-automated routes with different requirements and different staffing levels for those routes. The tonnage year over year has increased here, up 11% from last year. If you take a look at the graph here, I know it's a little hard to see, but if you see the gray line, those are pre-COVID levels. The blue line is 2021. Those are current levels of material that we're collecting. So year over year, it's 11% pre-COVID level. So the trash is still going up. And also we have challenges with vacancy. Our staffing levels, we're struggling to hire CDL drivers, and I'll get into a little bit more details on why that is throughout not just the city of Denver, but there's also a national challenge to get commercial drivers into commercial driving jobs. Some of the opportunities that we've identified, we're trying to modernize, as we talked about the department, some of the ways that we collect trash. We're trying to improve our customer service. That's top of the priorities. We're also taking a look at the environmental impact, right? How do our routes affect the environment and the system that we're running, and how can we improve that? We're looking at the safety of our employees, which is very important, and the community. And we're also looking to decrease property damages within our city. The focus areas right now, we are recruiting, hiring, and training new drivers, frontline drivers, CDL drivers. As I mentioned before, there's a shortage of drivers, and it's creating a challenge for us to collect materials every single day. And that is our number one focus, to get people through our doors and get them hired and trained to be able to collect the materials. We're exploring new ways to improve customer service. That's also number one on top of our list. And how do we improve the way that we pick up trash, right? How do we improve the way that we collect that material? We got to do it safely, and we have to provide that customer service to the residents. We're listening to the community. Obviously, with changes, we need to adapt, and we need to make sure that we include all the stakeholders when it comes down to the changes that we're making. We got to improve our communications. And also, at the end of the day, we got to make sure that we continue to support the city's sustainability and resiliency goals. Some of the strategies to hire CDL drivers, as I mentioned, there's a shortage, nationwide shortage to get drivers, right? So we're looking into going online, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, running radio ads to try to get people through our doors. We have Craigslist postings. Our recruiters, city recruiters, are attending job fairs and also hiring and recruitment events. We've also taken a look at the process, right? Not just to trying to get people through the doors, but what happens after we get a qualified candidate? How can we make sure that we can get them trained and on board as fast as we can, so he can make a difference for us? So far this year alone, we have hired 48 employees, 48 new employees this year. And we still need 18 more drivers. That is the focus right now, to try to get the 18 frontline employees, not just drivers, because there's also some utility worker positions that we need to fill. When we talk about our levels of service and how do we measure what we're doing and how we're doing it, right? We receive, just to give you a perspective on how many calls we get per month, we get an average of almost 8,000 cases per month into our 311 calling center. Those calls are not only, they're not missed pickups, they're just regular calls. It could be residents calling in to exchange their container. It could be for graffiti. It could be for illegal dumping, and also for some missed pickups. We service about 1.7 million residential carts a month in the city. And when you take a look at the overall, our missed pickup rate, it's 0.001 from the total opportunities that we have. Not to say that that number is small, because we try to improve day by day in our service levels. We have to make sure also that every customer that calls into the 311 gets a case assigned to them, and that we respond to those cases in a timely manner. Upcoming operational efficiencies. As I mentioned before, 8,000 calls into our 311 system requires a high level of response teams to address all of those cases. We also are identifying and addressing safety concerns within our routes that we have. And managing illegal dumping, it's also one of our priorities that we're taking a look at. And not just managing that, but also addressing the root cause of illegal dumping to make sure that our residents have the proper capacity in trash, so it could prevent some of the illegal dumping issues that we have in the city. So what are we doing about illegal dumping? I know that I've gotten a couple of emails from different council members. As I mentioned before, right, we are still going through a shortage of staff, but that doesn't stop us from coming in and working overtime to make sure that we deliver that service that our resident expects from us. So we are creating special routes on Saturdays, all overtime. And this is in addition to the routes that we currently run Monday through Friday to make sure that we stay ahead of the illegal dumping issue. Our priority is to address those illegal dumping issues on the same week. And then just an FYI, the illegal dumping has increased year over year from the pre-COVID levels. I believe it was about 32% from 2019 and 20% from 2020 levels. We got to focus on prevention. We have to focus on that to try to make sure that our residents, once again, as I mentioned before, have the capacity to be able to use our services and prevent some of the illegal dumpings that we see out in our alleys and streets.
Before we shift here, we're going to shift to talk specifically about Congress Park. And I just wanted to provide an apology to council and the community. We did fumble our communication in the changes that we did at Congress Park. So as we go through the overview, I want you to know that we looked at the communications, we recognized that we really fell short of our goal, and we did go back out and try to really communicate with that community what the changes were. So I did just want to offer that apology before we get into the details of this case.
Thank you, Margaret. So let's talk about Congress Park, and this is a brief overview of the Congress Park area. There is about 5,700 households in Congress Park. 98% of those households also have recycling, and these numbers are going to be important going through this presentation as we get a little deeper into these numbers. Well, let me first explain what happened in Congress Park, because I don't think, not sure if everybody knows, but we moved some containers from the trash containers from the back alley to the front. We asked the residents who were already placing their recycling containers and their composting containers to also move the trash containers to the front in order for us to, one, provide better customer service, and two, looking out for the safety of our employees, as that system that we had going there required more resources to be assigned to those Congress Park areas. So that's what started the Congress Park challenge that we're going to talk about. So roughly, out of those 5,700 households, there was 2,500 customers that were affected by this change. At this point, there is 99.9% compliance in the area. Most of the residents have already helped us out moving the containers to the front of their house. There's also 996 compost customers. So before, as I mentioned, recycling and compost was at the curb, and trash was being picked up in the alley by semi-automated trucks with additional resources in those routes. The current state that we were expecting to get from those changes was to have all three containers placed at the front of their properties. This is just a map, an overview of the area that was affected. The blue blocks, those were the blocks that we moved from the alley to the front, and the red blocks, they stayed at the same service that they had before. Those blocks did not have the recycling and composting carts moved to the front prior to this change, so we left them the same. So why did we change those containers? As I mentioned before, some of the changes were modernizing the way that we pick up trash here in the city of Denver. We're taking a look at increasing safety. These routes that were going through the alleys in Congress Park required two different operators, or an operator and an assistant, to move containers throughout the whole day. Those routes had about between 600 and 800 stops per day. Our automated routes pick up about 1,000 stops per day. We're trying to decrease some of the labor and time cost by consolidating those pickup locations. We were standardizing the collection setouts and reducing the need for 2 operator trucks. And obviously with that, when you drive through the tight alleys that we have in the city, we were looking at reducing the potential for property damages. How did we decide to change on those pickup locations? One of the factors was the width of the alley. How much room do we have to operate when we're out there servicing these areas? And as a department, we encourage alley pickup. If we have the ability to provide our services in the city safely, efficiently, that's what we encourage from our residents. We are trying to leave containers in the back alleys when we can. And obviously, we have to make some decisions sometimes when there is other factors that are affecting on the way that we are operating. There was a couple of questions on what's going to happen to the elderly residents or the disabled residents that are not able to move their containers to the back. And one of the things that we offered, which is a common practice within our solid waste department and the industry itself, is that we provide that service for you. You don't have to do absolutely nothing but place your container on the side of your house, and we would go and move that container for you. Our drivers will get out of that truck and bring it to the street, service the container, and place it back for you if you had a need for that service. There was 16 exemptions that were requested, and all of them were granted. There was also residents that requested a smaller trash cart, which it's also a benefit on reducing the amount of containers, large containers that we have out there. As I mentioned, the last thing, there was some residents that requested to move some of their containers to the mouth of the alleys, and that was also a good option for our residents that we agreed. I talked about the ability concerns, meeting the needs of the elderly and the disabled, and the process that a resident would go about if they needed an accommodation was to call 311, and we would send our operations team out there to make an assessment on your property and help you out with some solutions. And once again, I just want to thank my staff. Last year was a challenging year for all of my guys. It was tough. We had a pandemic. These guys were here day in and day out, and we, as residents of Denver, should be very proud of the team that we have out there providing this service. And we're still continuing. There's private haulers that are stopping service. One thing I can think about is the blizzard that we had. We were out there. There's private haulers that are stopping service. They're going bi-weekly. We don't even think about doing that. So, thank you all. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. And I would just say, yes, as we think about essential workers, the team that we never think about are the men and women from DOTI who came each and every day to service. And I will share, as my son is right here to my right, it is a joy to go in the alley and watch you pick up the trash, recycling, and the composting. We did that many times, and he enjoys doing that. So thank you for the people of District 8. We've got a lot of people in the queue. We'll start with Councilwoman Sawyer. Or does it say Councilwoman Sandoval? That's strange. You're in green. I'm sorry. I apologize. Councilwoman Sandoval, you can go first. Oh, now it just says Sawyer.
Yeah, I think I'm at the bottom of the queue.
Oh, okay. Okay, Councilwoman Sawyer, you're up first. Apologies.
Thanks. So you mentioned that you have a special program that works for accessibility, and you sort of explained it, but this is literally something I've never heard of before, and I know that there are a lot of people in District 5 who are older and have some mobility challenges. So can you talk a little bit more about exactly what that program is? And then I think you said for requests they call 311. Is that how that works?
Yes, that is correct. We try to, industry-wide, right, that there's always a program where if there is a need for a residence that cannot take their containers out to the curb or set them in the back, usually the companies will provide that service for you. And we have that service here in Denver for the people that need that service.
Okay, that's great, thank you. And then call 311 if someone needs to request that service and you send a team to assess the situation?
That is correct. You would call 311 and we will send an operational team to assess the need.
Okay.
And if we see that there is a need for that, then the request will be granted.
That is great. If you have any information on that we could like put in our newsletter next month or something like that, that would be fantastic. I think my residents would really like to know about that, and you know, some will probably take advantage of it. So thank you for that.
All right.
I read an article, and I can't remember off the top of my head if it was in like the Post or the Denverite or something, about the kind of staffing challenges that are happening right now. Can you talk a little bit more about what that looks like? I think you said there were you're 18 people short?
Yes, so we're 18 frontline employees short. If I'm correct, about 15 of those are drivers as of when I ran the report. So this number fluctuates every week depending on how many we get on board or how many people leave. But there is a challenge trying to get commercial drivers right now, and not just for the city, but throughout the whole industry. I've read some articles that it's due to the COVID-19 had a great impact on the older drivers. They retired, and we are not getting enough newer drivers into the system to be able to sustain what we need. So it's not only in Denver, it is countrywide, and we're doing our best to try to get people through our doors. We also have utility workers we have a program for utility workers, and we help them get their driver's license to make sure that they're able to drive a commercial truck if they want to. So
it's a commercial driver's license that you need in order to drive the truck. And do you guys work with, maybe partner with DOTI or something, maybe with some of our workforce development partners to do outreach on that? Or how are you attempting to fill those positions?
So we work closely with the recruiting department. I'm not sure if they work with DOTI, but that is something that I will look into just to make sure that we are, covering all of the bases to get people in through the doors.
Okay, and then because you're short at this point, has there been a reduction in service, or how have you covered that, or are our workers literally just working extra in order to ensure that the people of Denver are getting the trash service?
That's exactly what is going on right now. Our priority in solid waste is to provide that customer service. We are trying to stay ahead, and our workers are working overtime. If we have to come in on Saturdays, we will come in on Saturdays. We have had some service delays. We try to keep that at 24 hours because it happens, right? We just don't have enough people to cover all of our routes. Our guys are working, instead of completing one route, right after they're done with that, they go out and try to help on another route. So we're trying to stay ahead of that, but at the end of the day, our guys are doing more right now than they were doing during the pandemic.
That's amazing. Thank you for that information. And can I just ask one more question? Thank you. So if we have residents who have delayed trash service as a result of the struggle to cover the 18 people who are missing and not undercut any of the trash service that our residents are using, then how should we, or what should we tell our residents if they get skipped? Should they call? Should they expect someone will come the next day? Do you know what gets skipped because of it's a specific route, or kind of how does that work?
Yeah, so we know when we don't service a street, when we don't service customers. What we try to do the following day is pick them up first thing in the morning before we start our next day routes. What I would recommend is to wait 24 hours And if you don't get picked up after 24 hours, then make that phone call. Because then what they're doing is creating more calls into 311 that is gonna set our guys a little behind even more, because now we have to send guys to double check the areas that we already know that are service delayed. So I would suggest that they wait 24 hours to call 311, but I can probably guarantee you that we'll be there the next day in the morning before we start our routes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And just again, thank you, and thanks to all of your workers for everything you guys are doing. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman Sawyer. Councilwoman Black, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, and a belated welcome to Denver.
Thank you.
And like everyone said, thank you all for everything you do. We really appreciate it. I believe we all create too much trash, and we should stop using so much single-use packaging and things. But anyway, hello, you guys. I know you because we had our own little Congress Park issue in my district in the University Hills neighborhood, and you guys were so nice and patient with our residents, and some of them were pretty old, and you were really accommodating, so thank you for doing that. So the 311 thing is not working. I don't know if you know this. So now if you call 311 or you go to Pocket Gov, it makes you go to Denver Utilities online and create a password and a login. And if you aren't a compost customer, so I'm getting complaints from my constituents, so we've gone through the process ourselves. If you're not a compost customer, people don't know why they have to create an account. And it makes you create an account with a login and a password. And you can't just go to Pocket Gov and say, my cart disappeared. So one of my constituents, their compost cart disappeared 3 weeks ago, and they still don't have one. But she had to go online. It directed her to Denver Utilities Online, had to create an account. And anyway, it still hasn't been solved, but I don't know why we can't just report it on 311 or Pocket Gov anymore. Why do they have to go create an account?
So my understanding was that 311 was able to take calls and create cases from us. I will double check that and get you an answer. The reason that we want customers to create an account is because Denver Utilities Online is not just for compost customers, is for all of our customers, because you can request an exchange of any cart that you have in there. And you can also create cases for us to address directly. They're not just only for compost customers.
I'll add a little to that. Hello, Jason Glenn from the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. Thank you for the question, Councilwoman. I'll just be blunt and say we're going to cut that red tape out, and we'll make it easier for residents to be able to just ask the request. If something's going wrong, we'll fix it. And so we'll get that cut out of the system, for sure.
Okay, that would be great, because we didn't know that happened, and it just happened, and we were like, no, you don't have to do that, but sure enough, you do. So thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Black. Councilwoman Sedabaka.
Thank you. And thank you guys for all the work that you did. We talked to a lot of your staffers last year, and we know you guys didn't get a break like everybody else and didn't get treated like everybody else. So thank you for hanging in there. I am curious about how you guys break up the region. Do you guys have either currently or a plan for the future to have this kind of like decentralized model with assigned point people to different regions or routes?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. We're looking into modernizing the way that we pick up trash in Denver. That's coming up in the future, where we are looking at the system that we have, and we want to improve the service levels that we have. We firmly believe that going into a district type of system will improve what we do. So there's more information coming on that pretty soon, but that is going to be one of the opportunities that we have for solid waste.
Awesome. That's been kind of something we've been hoping for, to have a direct point person, kind of how we do for parks, for our little region, so that when, there is an issue that we've had 5 people call in on, and, I'm driving home and see it's taken care of, I can let your guy know. Or, if we could pair that with something like our plow tracker, and do the trash driver tracker. I feel like that's a way where we could, hey, there's some illegal dumping over here. I see that there's a trash truck 2 blocks away. Could they swing by and grab that? That could be just make it a little more efficient. So I hope you guys look into that. If we've got that technology for plows, let's do it for the trash men too.
Absolutely, that is something that we will be looking at.
Awesome. I also hope that one day you guys can identify the priority areas for illegal dumping. I have the hottest spots for illegal dumping in my district, and it's pretty constant. And it would be nice to have just on the radar that there is this excessive illegal dumping in the area, and so someone could go through there. Or we could potentially invest in some signage about fines for illegal dumping, because most of our neighbors don't know what to do when they see someone doing the illegal dumping. And if we had a way to report it, or if we had signs to deter, that might help us a little bit. So I hope for that, and hopefully the signs will indicate that there is a fine so that we can do some enforcement. Also, an idea for the disability group, instead of doing a visit, it would be awesome if you guys could create some opportunities for easier proof. People with disabilities have to prove their disability over and over to different systems. And so if someone's already approved for Access-a-Ride, or they have a handicap tag, or they have disability from DHS, those are ways that they could easily submit proof real quick and eliminate a visit from your schedule, and streamline their access to that benefit. So please consider that. I'm curious about the pay rates for staffers. What is the range for frontline workers? Is that part of why you guys are having challenges?
That was part of some of the challenges, not necessarily all, but the pay range, it's consistent with the market. We can always do better, right? But those are I don't think that is the big part of our challenges. It's more of finding candidates to come through our doors.
Thank you for the question, Councilwoman Sitabaca. Just to add to that, the market is shifted, obviously, because CDL drivers are now a hot commodity. So there's incentives that are out there in the private sector that we're trying to get forward thinking on those type of things. But I think, competitively wise, we're very competitive in the area. It's just right now there's a lot of incentives that other companies are providing that we're getting, involved in now to move forward. What is signing bonuses, stuff like that, they're doing to get more drivers because of the CDL shortage that's out there.
What is our pay range for a driver?
Oh.
It ranges, depending on experience, from $25 to $21 to $31, depending on experience.
Okay, so hourly, not salaried.
Hourly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you guys done a staffing survey of the department?
As far as pay?
Just kind of satisfaction, just morale to gauge what's going on internally?
We plan to do one for solid waste in November. My understanding was that there was one done in 2019 or 2018, but that is part of what we want to do this year, just to listen to what our employees are saying.
It would be awesome to collect some of their ideas about how to make things more efficient. We've talked to several, and a lot of them have great ideas about how we should switch things, including one that I'm confused about and wish we had answers about, and it is, why do we have to put the bins in the alley instead of in the front?
Right.
And how do you shift that when a community would rather have them in front to kind of, I guess, create no reason for anyone to be in the alleys except the illegal dumpers? Right? That's something we hope for. Also, public trash receptacles. We've got lots of encampments, and we've had neighbors say they're gonna call and get an extra cart. That way they can take it to the encampment so that we can keep the neighborhood clean, because there's no real way for us to control trash when our bins are overflowing from our own trash and we have nothing to give or no way to help the people in tent cities right across the street from us. What can we do about that?
So those are some of the, when I talked about the modernization of the department, all those are great points. And those are all the things that we're looking at to improve for the city. You know, coming from California, I have a lot of good ideas, a lot of different ideas that we had. So we're trying to do what's best for the city of Denver and what works here, right? Implementing, changing the way that we service or provide containers to our residents. All that, it's in a review process right now, and we will make some changes coming forward.
Awesome. Well, please consider us a partner and invite us when you need us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Colleagues, we got just under 30 minutes left. 4 members in the queue. Up next, Councilman Cashman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just start by echoing the welcome to Denver, and can't speak highly enough of the work that the frontline DOTI employees do every day. You know, I office here at the city and county building, and I get very cranky when the air conditioning is not at the comfort level that I enjoy. And then I drive down the street and I see your people doing paving jobs and all the work that DOTI people do out in, it doesn't matter whether it's 101 or 103, they're out there keeping the city functioning, and thank you for that. My question is on your third slide, it says that you service 182,000 residents. I assume that means residences, 182,000 homes?
That is correct.
Okay, yeah, and I'm by my on-the-fly math, we've got about 315,000 households in the city, and so I assume those are the multifamily homes. And I'm wondering, with your experience, do most cities service single-family homes and then private haulers do multifamily? Do we ever have any desire to get into that multifamily area that we're not now serving?
So to answer the first question, usually on the contracts that I've serviced before, the residential system only services residential homes, and then the commercial system will service the commercial properties. Anywhere from 2 to 3, more than 2 to 3 multifamily properties are considered commercial. We are looking, right? We're looking at modernizing our department. So those are some options that we have on the table. At this point, we're not there to announce any changes.
Sure.
But we are assessing everything and the way that we do trash here in Denver, and we will, you know, improve on the systems that we have right now.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to say was, you know, I can be as resistant to requests for change as anyone, but I live in a neighborhood that is largely no alleys. So we've always dragged our carts out to the street, and we have people of all ages. And I've never gotten a call complaining in my neighborhood, complaining about that. And I'm just assuming that for our residents, to whom I'm aware there are some residents that it's a difficulty for them to get their carts out to the street, but I'm guessing a relative, a neighbor gets it done. And my experience with DOTI has been when we made the shift from dumpsters. I was a journalist for 36 years. I've been a councilman for 6 years. The most disgraceful show of humanity I have seen was when they announced the rollout, taking away the dumpsters. And I sat in a meeting at the District 3 police station and saw people from the surrounding neighborhoods lose their minds, shouting, cussing at DOTI employees, and just unbelievable how people react to changes in this area. But the whole point being, employees is in Public Works, but the employees went out of their way to answer dozens and dozens of complaints to help people negotiate this change. But that is the meeting I will never forget. And, you know, of all the topics for people to flat out lose their stuff, it was that one. So again, thank you for what you do. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Cashman. I attended a meeting where they told a neighborhood, and I will not say which one, that they were getting rid of dumpsters, and it was very animated, very animated. Up next, thank you, Councilman. Up next, Councilwoman Sandoval.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So thank you to you and your team. I think in Northwest Denver, we had one of the first rollouts. We have super tiny alleys in the Highland neighborhood. So we had the rollout. I've been in council almost 9 years. I was working for a council aide. I was at council aide, like, I think it was in 2015. And so what we did was we partnered. I literally went door knocking on each door, and I found younger people, and I did, instead of the Snow Angel program, we did a Trash Angel program. And so I connected residents with more able-bodied people on that block and asked them if they could, while they were taking their dumpster, could they also take the elderly couples on that block dumpster? Because we didn't have the 311 program when you all rolled this out however long ago. So just know that that's something that, you know, we have the Snow Angel program. Why can't we also do that with our neighbors, and you get to know your neighbors, and it actually really works. So just food for thought. I do have a couple of questions. So when you all changed the large item pickup, you decreased it from every 6 weeks to every 8 weeks. Did you see illegal dumping go up? Is there a correlation between large item pickup and illegal dumping?
Looking at just the illegal dumping numbers from 2019 to now, they're up 37%. But however, from 2020 to 2021, it's only 20%. We haven't directly studied if there's a correlation between removing that program or decreasing that program on illegal dumping, but that is something that we're taking a look at right now.
That would be great, because I just know on council districts that border other jurisdictions that have to pay for trash. So council district one's the north side, so we have Lakeside on the western boundary, and we have Adams County on my northern boundary. You do see illegal dumping, and where I notice it are my residents, but where I really notice it are at my parks. So people just come to Zuni Park, or it's right there literally on 52nd and Zuni, like the other side is Adams County, where they have to pay for their trash. And if you go there on the weekends, like on Sunday afternoon, it's overfull with trash. And I don't think it's the park users' trash. I think it's other people who are coming to illegal dump. And so I see it at Rocky Mountain Park, I see it at Berkeley Park, Inspiration Park, and Zuni Park, because all of those 4 parks are along my the boundary with another jurisdiction. I will just say, I wish that you all went back to this 6-week large item pickup, because in my neighborhood, I have heard complaints, especially when there's big hailstorms or there's other issues that are going on. I think a lot of people took on home renovations because they were home during COVID. So I do see tons of trash in alleys, and it is unfortunate because people don't know where to put them. And when you train the public every 6 weeks and then it goes to every 8 weeks, people get all weird. They just start dumping their trash wherever because they don't want to wait 2 months to get rid of their trash. So if there's any way we could go back to the 6-week program, I would really advocate for that. And then as for the drivers, so I feel like CDL drivers, in my experience, I have family members who are CDL drivers, so I'll say I statements. I feel like they are not on the internet looking for these type of job fairs. I post them, and they don't get any tractions for the type of jobs that you are looking for. So if you ever want to partner and do like a resource fair / job fair, I'm hosting a movie in the park August 20th at Zunai Park, specifically in that neighborhood that borders Adams County. If Public Works wanted to have, or DOTI, sorry, wanted to have a table to talk about these job opportunities, I feel like that's where you're going to get more traction with this type of job that you all want. CDL drivers who know other CDL drivers, my cousin's one, and my brother-in-law's one, they're not on the internet. They're driving all day. And by the time they get home, they're surfing, looking for fun, not looking for that. So just as we roll out and have like these festivals, I know Kendra Black has a festival. I know in Northwest Denver, we have the Sunnyside Music Festival. I feel like it's better to do those type of in-person when you're trying to do these job fairs than actually these virtual ones. So just some food for thought there, and I'm happy to partner in any way that I can on that.
Councilwoman Sandoval, thank you for that, and thank you for the invitation, and I will work with your office to get that. I think that's a great opportunity for us to get out there in person and talk about this, so
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
And then one other thing is, if you do have these job fairs, what I do in Northwest Denver is I flyer. So I love land use, I love zoning, so I constantly am flyering. Like just 2 weeks ago, we flyered 3,500 doors in Sunnyside. If you ever have these opportunities, just I think people are trained now with the QR code because of the pandemic, having to eat at restaurants and getting your menu. It's not the most ideal way to look at the menu, but it works, right?
Right.
So if you ever have those, I'm happy to add that onto these flyers. So because I just don't, when I've talked to my cousins who are these drivers, and I've talked to my brother-in-law, they are not, we have to think outside of the box because they're not traditional jobs where they're going to job fairs. And it's just not a traditional profession, but it is a well-paying profession. If you do get on with the city and county of Denver, we have great benefits, and we do have retirement, which a lot of these private companies don't do. So just some food for thought, getting outside of these virtual job fairs, which I find, and Facebook, which I find challenging to the algorithms. If you're not in that algorithm,
Right.
You're seeing like tacos and tostadas, right? and like all kinds of things. Like I don't do that on my personal Facebook. I try to not stay away from those type of algorithms so that I could just see people that I care about. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Sandoval. Well, we got about 15 minutes left. Up next, Councilwoman Torres.
Thank you so much, and thank you all to your entire team. I know that your dedication to the city is unmatched. My question surrounds a little bit of what you told us about Congress Park, which I was unaware of. And the root of that, what I'm seeing is crafting operational efficiencies where you need them. And I don't fault DOTI for making that decision at all. Are there other neighborhoods where you're going to need to move operations like that, where you maybe have a split between front and alley operations, just kind of future planning, or was this maybe the last one?
So at this point, we're not done finishing with the assessment of the whole routing system. But I can tell you that we're going to take a look at all of the neighborhoods that we have in Denver and then make the right choices. And obviously, we would have, as we mentioned before, right, we have to improve our communications on how we do and how we communicate with the public and the residents. So we're not done with the assessment just yet, but we will take a look at the whole system that we have in Denver.
Okay. And so communications, I think, is just my big piece, and we talked about this in one of the last meetings that we had, and really pleasantly surprised to know, Art, that you're a Spanish speaker, and I think that puts DOTI in a really wonderful space to start outreaching to Spanish-speaking residents in Denver and making sure that they're as up to speed as our English speaker residents. So thank you for entering in that space.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Gracias.
Thank you, Councilwoman Torres. Council President Gilmore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for the work of you and your employees. I just think back
early in the pandemic when we didn't really know what was going on. When we would see your folks come up the street, it was like, okay, there's a little bit of normalcy. There's a little bit of that old way of life. And so thank you so much for the work that you have all done. And I wanted to throw out a suggestion. We had reached out, or I believe Parks had reached out, because I was asking for a comprehensive flyer that council offices could share around the parks employment gaps that they're seeing as well. And so Human Resources created a really nice flyer that at least council offices could get out and post, because a lot of times we have significant others, we have children who maybe are on social media when somebody's out working, and I know a lot of times they'll tag folks. And so that was something that it was nice to be able to participate and get that information out as well. And so wondered if you are considering that.
That's a great idea, and we are wanting to do something like that, especially with council. I know that DOTI's Facebook isn't as popular as a lot of other Facebook pages out there.
You need to do a Facebook Live with ours on there and take questions.
That's right. That'll work. And so definitely would like to take advantage of that, and we'll work with your offices and everybody's office on that.
Great. Yeah. What had to happen was they had to reach out to OHR, and they created the flyer. And then I believe Karen Naparco actually got it out to us, and we were able to share it. Just to keep that consistent, I think, is really important. And then regarding folks that, so do people have to come to you with that CDL license, or will you hire folks and allow them to train up to that CDL license?
So we have both programs. We do hire from the outside with a CDL license already, and we also invest in our people. And any employee that is willing and able to get a commercial driver's license, we train them and we provide that license for them. And obviously it's a benefit for our employees.
Great. And so you'll pay for that? The city will pay for that CDL license?
It's a program that the city has, so there's no cost to our employees. And let me just make sure. Yes.
Okay, good. And how long is that program?
Do we know?
So,
or we need to have you come up to the mic and introduce yourself, please.
My name is Richard V. I'm a field superintendent. So the process is they just need to go on their own, and they have to get the CDL permit, which is they have to take 2 different tests. And then after that, we will schedule them to get a DOT physical. And then after that, it's we put them on the list to be scheduled to go down where they go down to the DIA for a week, and they get trained. And then when they're done with that, they come out with the CDL license. So it's just their process on how fast they get the permit.
Gotcha. Okay. And then for folks, because we do have marijuana is legal in Colorado, what's the restrictions, or just for folks that somebody's mom might be watching this or have it on in the background and has a family member that, good to know?
So our CDL drivers is a DOT, it's a federal program. So any
they have to, so they cannot use anything. They need to be able to test negative in order to get into the program.
Our drivers get pulled into a random testing pool, and marijuana is not allowed federally to be in their systems.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And so interested to get more information out to the community, but then also increase the number of women who are maybe looking at this as a career path as well. And so I think that relationship with the Denver Economic Development Office would be really great, because they've got a lot of programs, such as at the Ari P. Taylor building in Montbello. We have a workforce development training center, and so there's folks coming in all the time that are looking for connections. And so if you haven't reached out to them, I would suggest that as well. And one last question. On one of the slides, there had been an increased tonnage in 2020. And I just wondered, in addition to that increased tonnage, did we see an increase or decrease in our composting or recycling in 2020?
Yes, we have. So it's an overall number. When you take a look at the subscribers from last year to this year in compost alone, that number has increased, as well as the recycling numbers. And if you would like those reports, we have them available to you.
Okay, that would be great. Really would appreciate you sending that over, maybe to the chair or the analyst, and we can make sure and get that out to all of council.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you again for your work. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Council President. And thank you for the Ari P. Taylor advice. That's a great one too. Workforce Center would be a great way to find folks. Seeing no other questions or comments, and I'll just pause to see if anyone else wanted to add a second comment. I will speak to the modernization piece, and you can implement this tomorrow. In the Central Park neighborhood, I watched the truck go up, turn around, and go back down. It doesn't take a week before you tell people to put all the trash on one side of the alley. And then I can't imagine the time and gas mileage that you will save, and you could implement that tomorrow, and we'll figure it out as we think about modernization.
Thank you.
So seeing no else, once again, thank you all for all that you do. We really appreciate you coming out and sharing with us. And seeing no other business for this committee, colleagues, if you got any issues with the consent items, let myself or Zach know. This committee is